Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making my predictions for game week number 13 of the 25-26 Premier League season. Again, sorry it's a bit late, but I'm doing the video now. But before we begin, let's look at how I did last week. I got 2 outcomes and scorelines correct. I got Crystal Palace beating Wolves 2-0 and Aston Villa beating Leeds 2-1 correct. I got 2 more outcomes correct. So that is 8 points, taking my season total up to 77. And here is how the Premier League table looks after 12 matches. And without further ado, let's predict this week's matches. And we begin with Brentford against Burnley. And Burnley have now slipped into the relegation zone. And Brentford's a tricky one to predict because they can get results on their day, they're very good, but they can also struggle at times. And this one's a tricky one because I'm torn between a draw, because Burnley do like draws. I'm torn between a draw and a Brentford win. You know what, I feel like I've not backed Brentford enough this season for what they're doing, and I think this could be a slight win. I think it could be close, could be level coming into the closing minutes, and Brentford get the winner, maybe an eager Thiago victory goal. I'm going to give them the win. I'm going Brentford 2-1. I think it's going to be close, but I'm just going to edge the bees on this one. Next up, we've got Sunderland against Bournemouth, in 2 sides that are pushing for Europe this season. Bournemouth aren't on the best of form at the minute. But then you could almost say the same about Sunderland. They lost 1-0 to Fulham last week. Bournemouth rescued a 2-2 draw against West Ham because they're 2-0 down. But with this being back at the Stadium of Light, I do back Sunderland to get something. It's just whether I go for a win or a Sunderland and Bournemouth draw. Bournemouth have been impressive this season, and they've been good at getting points over the line. I think I'm going to sit on the fence with a 2-2 draw on this one. I'll go for a Desmond and a share of the spoils, so 2-2. Next up, we've got maybe the biggest mismatch of the game week. It's Manchester City against Leeds. And Leeds are really struggling. I think Daniel Farke's job is under a bit of threat here, but they're up against a Manchester City side who, whisper it quietly, aren't in the best of form either. They lost 2-0 to Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League midweek. But I think at the Etihad against Leeds, I can only see this going one way, and that's to Manchester. I think they're going to be, firing on all cylinders. They've got Haaland, who is still banging them in. And, they've got some decent, experienced players. And I think City will win pretty comfortably as well. I'm going 4-1. I'm going to give Leeds a goal because I think they've got quality to do that. But Man City ultimately hammer them 4-1. Next up, we've got Everton against Newcastle. And this is a tricky one as well. Everton at the Hill Dickinson have been pretty decent. I think the only game they might have lost there this season was against Spurs. Newcastle, it's an interesting one. Newcastle were 1-0 up in the Champions League, and then they lost 2-1 to Marseille midweek. But Newcastle's last result in the Premier League was that 2-1 victory against Manchester City. So it's an interesting one. This, I think, could see it going either way. I don't really want to separate the two, so I'm going to sit on the fence with a 1-1 draw on this one. I think a point apiece is a decent result for both, but ideally one of them wants the 3 points. But a 1-1 draw is where I'm going. Next up we go back to London for Tottenham against Fulham. And Fulham in their last result won 1-0 against Sunderland, wasn't it? 1-0 against Sunderland, but Tottenham, their last result, midweek in the Champions League, they lost a bonkers game 5-3 to PSG. Of course, they lost a bonkers game in the Premier League last weekend, 4-1 to Arsenal, in that Eberechi Eze show. This one's, I would say it's tricky, and Spurs are very unpredictable this season. But I think I've got to back them. I think Fulham have been better at home this season than they have away. And I just can't see anything other than a Spurs result here. I think they're going to be buzzing after that PSG match. And I think they're going to bang some more goals in. I'm going for Spurs to win 3-1. I think that'll be a helpful 3 points to push up towards Europe again. So 3-1 Spurs. Next up, we've got Crystal Palace against Manchester United. And there's so many tricky ones to predict this week, because Man United were in good form. I think they were like 4 or 5 wins on the bounce, and then they obviously lost that match at Old Trafford, 1-0 to Everton. What a bizarre match that was. But they're against the Palace side, who are slightly going back on good form again. So I do think, sorry Man United, but I don't know whether to trust you at the minute. It wouldn't surprise me if Man United came here and got something here, but I'm going the home side. I'm going Palace to win 2-1. I think Palace are just more trustworthy at the moment to get a result over the line. So 2-1 to the Eagles. Next up, we've got West Ham against Liverpool. And this is... Liverpool are on rubbish form right now. Arne Slot is... Well, I dare say his job is safe for now, but... I mean... And I've seen a few people saying Slot out. So, I'm not sure how long he'll keep it. I think he'll keep it at least until Christmas, his job. But it's not looking good for them at the minute. They lost 4-1 to PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League midweek. And they're up against a West Ham side who has started to turn a corner in their form. Nuno's getting results out of this side. And let's not forget, Nuno did get that 1-0 victory at Anfield with Forest last season. But with this being at the London Stadium, I'm going for West Ham to get something here, and Liverpool's rubbish form to continue. I'm going West Ham to win 2-1. I'm not going to back Liverpool to lose often this season, but this is one of them. 2-1 to the Hammers. Next up, we've got Aston Villa against Wolves. And yeah, this is another game where I can only see it going one way, and that's to Villa. Villa are on great form right now. They have won, I think their only loss in the last 6 matches was against Liverpool, ironically. And they're up against the Wolves side, who are, well, the confidence is really shot. They're hardly scoring any goals. They're conceding a lot. They're on 2 points, which is ridiculously low. They've brought in Rob Edwards, of course, but I think Villa will get the win here quite comfortably too. I'm going 3-0 Villa, and that will keep their form going, and think if the results come in, it puts them somewhere like third. So great turnaround from Unai Emery from the start of the season, but 3-0 to Villa. Next up, we have got the penultimate game of the week. It's Nottingham Forest against Brighton, and this is a tricky one. I said this about almost every match, but it is another tricky one because Forest are on good form since they brought in Sean Dyche. Like West Ham, they've got a good run of form, but don't rule Brighton out of this match or indeed the good form book, because they've been quietly getting results over the line as well. So it's tricky because part of me wants to go with the Forest win here to keep the form up, and part of me wants to give Brighton a draw. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I am going to sit on the fence with a 2-2 draw on this one. Another Desmond. I think both sides are going to score a couple goals, but ultimately it will end in a point apiece. So a Desmond. And then finally we've got game of the week. It is Chelsea against Arsenal in the London derby, and this is Arsenal's second London derby in a row in the Premier League. Both these sides obviously did play in the Champions League and got good results in the Champions League midweek. Chelsea beating Barcelona 3-0. Arsenal beating potential title favourites Bayern Munich 3-1. So this is a tricky one because both sides have very high in confidence at the minute. Of course, Eze banging the goals in last week against Tottenham, 4-1, and Chelsea doing Chelsea things. This is another game where I think it might have goals in it, but I am going to back the slightly better form side at the minute. I'm going with Arsenal. I'm going for Arsenal to win 3-2. It's going to be an interesting, entertaining match, but ultimately I can see it going the Gunners' way. So 3-2 Arsenal. And there you have it, guys. All 10 matches done and dusted for another week. Stay tuned because my championship predictions will be out later today. And I've got a double bill of Premier League predictions next week. So lots more to come. I'll see you all in the next one.